Very good morning to all students. We will be discussing today an important topic, that is the elbow joint. But before that, let's have a look at this X-ray. What do you think? क्या दिख रहा है तुम्हें इस X-ray में? बोन्स रिकॉग्नाइज कर पा रहे हो? ये जो एक्सरे है वो 6 साल के छोटे बच्चे का है एंड यू कैन मेक आउट कि इसमें सुप्रा कॉन्डाइलर फ्रैक्चर ऑफ ह्यूमरस ऐसा लिखा हुआ है एंड इट इज सेड दैट कि 3 पॉइंट बोनी रिलेशनशिप इस एक्सरे में डिस्टर्ब नहीं हुआ है. तो क्या है ये 3 पॉइंट बोनी रिलेशनशिप? इसके पहले मुझे ये बताओगे कि एल्बो जॉइंट के फंक्शंस क्या हैं? हम रोज कहाँ यूज करते हैं एल्बो जॉइंट? तो सबसे पहले जो मुझे याद आ रहा है वो है यस, इट इज लाइक कि हम खाना ही नहीं खा पाएंगे अगर इफ आवर एल्बो जॉइंट इज नॉट फंक्शनल. देन फॉर द बटनिंग ऑफ द शर्ट, फॉर प्लेइंग गोल्फ, टेनिस, ये सब खेल ही नहीं पाएंगे अगर हमारा एल्बो जॉइंट जो है वो ठीक से काम नहीं करेगा. Then what do you think, what are the functions of the elbow joint? So correctly, elbow joint जो है that is like हमारे जो distal part है hand का, उसे मोबिलिटी प्रोवाइड करता है. जो स्किलफुल मूवमेंट्स हैं, जो स्किलफुल मूवमेंट्स हम परफॉर्म कर पाते हैं, उनको कंट्रोल करने का काम कौन कर रहा है? एल्बो जॉइंट. सो एल्बो जॉइंट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर स्ट्रेंथनिंग एंड लेंथनिंग ऑफ द आर्म एंड इट एड्स इन द स्किलफुल मूवमेंट्स ऑफ द हैंड्स. पर ऐसा करने के लिए व्हाट ऑल मूवमेंट्स कैन बी परफॉर्म्ड एट द एल्बो जॉइंट? कुछ लोगों ने करना भी शुरू कर दिया है. देखते हैं. सो वी विल बी डीलिंग द कॉम्पिटेंसी विद विच वी विल बी डीलिंग टुडे इज AN 13.3, दैट इज टू आइडेंटिफाई एंड डिस्क्राइब द टाइप, articular surfaces, capsule, synovial membrane, ligaments, fibrous capsule, movements, blood supply, nerve supply of the elbow joint. So specific learning objectives that we will be dealing today are to describe the gross anatomy of the elbow joint, to identify the structures of the elbow joint like fibrous capsule, the synovial membrane and these relations of the elbow joint in cadaver. Of course you will not be able to identify the whole thing because that we will be doing in our dissection hall. लेकिन हाँ, पूरे प्रेजेंटेशन में या पूरे लेक्चर में कॉन्फ़िगरेशन ज़रूर देख सकते हो. फाइब्रस कैप्सूल का, इसका सिनोवियल मेम्ब्रेन का रिलेशंस दे सकते हो, अटैचमेंट्स देख सकते हो. देन द अदर ऑब्जेक्टिव, द स्पेसिफिक लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव फॉर टुडे इज टू डिस्क्राइब द एनाटॉमिकल बेसिस फॉर क्लिनिकल सिम्टम्स इन वॉकमैन्स इस्कीमिक कॉन्ट्रैक्चर एंड कॉमन फ्रैक्चर्स एंड डिसलोकेशंस इन एल्बो जॉइंट. सो अभी तक तुम लोगों ने सोच लिया होगा कि क्या क्या मूवमेंट्स हम परफॉर्म कर सकते हैं एल्बो जॉइंट पे. तो ओनली द फ्लेक्शन एंड एक्सटेंशन ऑफ द फोरआर्म at the arm, or it is the, you know that the elbow joint is at the junction of arm and forearm. So only these two movements can be performed. These are shown in this. This is flexion, the reduction of angle between two bones or the two areas is flexion, and then you can see the angle is increased between arm and forearm in extension. So flexion and extension are the only two movements which can be performed. So it is which type of joint? Uniaxial, multi-axial or biaxial. Only two movements around a single axis can be performed. So it is a uniaxial kind of joint. कौन कौन से bones हैं which are taking part in forming this joint? So in arm there is humerus and in forearm there is radius and ulna. So you can see two bones are not involved, more than two bones are involved, and there are three joint cavities involved in making the elbow joint. So it is a compound kind of joint. So and it is of which variety? It is of hinge variety. दरवाज़ा या डोर देखा है तुमने, उसमें जैसे एक हिंज होता है, दरवाज़ा अपने हिंज के अराउंड सिर्फ एक ही एक्सेस में मूव कर सकता है. सिमिलरली अल्ना एंड रेडियस, basically prominently the ulna moves around the hinge formed by the radius, the humerus and the ulna. So it is uniaxial variety of joint and it is having more than two bones. All the three joint cavities formed by the three bones, they are covered by a single fibrous capsule. Then it is a synovial joint connected with the help of hyaline cartilage, surrounded by a fibrous capsule, covered by a synovial membrane. तो एक synovial joint जैसे रहता है with a synovial cavity, it is similar to that. Let's have a look at this picture. Lateral view से जब हम देख रहे हैं, this is humerus, then radius, the ulna medially and the radius laterally. So this is the lateral view of the elbow joint. The lower end of the humerus trochlea hair is articulating with the trochlear notch of the ulna. Then radius on the lateral side will be articulating with the rounded capitulum of the humerus. The upper end of the radius and ulna are shown here. This is the olecranon process, this is coronoid process, and this is the trochlear notch which is articulating over here with the trochlea of the humerus and forming the humero-ulnar articulation. Can you make out the three articulations in this joint? One is the humero-ulnar articulation, next is the humero-radial articulation. Then you can see that superior radio-ulnar joint will also be formed, and all these three joint cavities, they will be covered by a single fibrous capsule inside the elbow joint. These are the articulating surfaces of the elbow joint, as we have seen in the last slide also. The three articulating surfaces are humero-ulnar articulation between the trochlea of the humerus and trochlear notch of ulna. Then there is humero-radial articulation between the capitulum of the humerus and the head of the radius. Then the third articulation also exists because there are three bones, the superior or the proximal radio-ulnar articulation, and they will be forming the superior radio-ulnar joint. All these three articulations will be inside a common fibrous capsule. Now look at this radiograph. The antero-posterior view of the elbow joint is taken. So posterior things are visible more prominently. You can identify the olecranon fossa. Which position is this? The extension, is the X-ray is taken in extended position or in flexed position? This is the semi-flexed position. Here you can see the olecranon has just come out of the olecranon fossa. Then you can identify the head of the radius, the medial epicondyle, lateral epicondyle. In lateral view also we can identify the different features on the lower end of the humerus and on the upper end of the ulna. You can easily make out the trochlear notch and the trochlea of the humerus forming a hinge, and then the ulna will be like moving in flexion and extension position. So till now I think I have made myself clear. There are three articulations, but the prominent articulation at which this flexion and extension is taking place is the humero-ulnar articulation, which is of hinge variety. Then the shape of the head of the radius and the capitulum is like that they are forming a limited ball and socket variety of joint. And then there is superior radio-ulnar joint, which is of the pivot variety of joint that we will be studying in the class of supination and pronation. Now coming to the details of the joint cavity of the elbow joint, we have opened the elbow joint. So as it is a synovial joint, so it is going to have a space between the bones, the lower end of the humerus, the radius and ulna, and whole of the joint cavity is covered by a capsule. You can make out the whitish colored layer, that is the fibrous capsule attached to the articulating surfaces. Then you can make out the synovial membrane which is lining the fibrous capsule, but it is absent on the articulating surfaces. Then the joint is filled with a fluid, that is the synovial fluid. Now we have to remember the attachments of the fibrous capsule. This fibrous capsule attaches to the articulating surfaces, that means it is attached to the olecranon fossa of the humerus, that it is covering the head of the radius going slightly downwards, then it is going slightly downwards of the trochlear notch of the ulna, because trochlear notch of the ulna is articulating with the trochlea of the humerus. Then on the posterior side, this fibrous capsule is covering the superior surface of the olecranon process, and then you can make out the attachments of the fibrous capsule. This we will be identifying in dissection hall also. So again the same joint cavity in antero-posterior view, in the anterior view and in the posterior view. Here you can make out the surfaces of the bones which are articulating. They are covered by a blue colored hyaline cartilage. You know this hyaline cartilage is there, and it prevents the tear of bones. So it provides protection to the joints. Now we have talked about the mobility of the joint. That means a hinge is formed, flexion and extension are taking place. But what are the factors which are responsible for the stability of the joint? Of course, one was the fibrous capsule which was binding the three bones, because there was a space existing between the three bones for mobility. Then the other factors or the structures which connect the bones, you know they are the ligaments. Can you please tell me where the ligaments are required as the motion is taking place in anterior and posterior direction, that means flexion and extension? You have made it right. The support is required in the medial direction and in the lateral direction. So accordingly, there are two ligaments, the medial ligament or the ulnar collateral ligament. You can make out the medial ligament and the ulnar collateral ligament in this picture, and then the radial collateral ligament on the lateral side. These two ligaments, they will be providing support to the fibrous capsule to provide stability to the joint. So let's have a look at the shape of these ligaments. The ulnar as well as the radial collateral ligament, both are triangular ligaments with having an upper attachment. The ulnar collateral ligament is having an upper attachment to the medial epicondyle of humerus, and the lower attachment is on to the margins of trochlear notch of ulna. It is a triangular ligament and having its apex at the medial epicondyle. It has got three bands, the anterior band, posterior band and an oblique band. So you can see this is the anterior band, this is posterior band, and both the bands are connected by a third band, that is the oblique band. All these are attached to the margins of the trochlear notch of ulna and then above to the medial epicondyle of humerus. The ligament present on the lateral side is the radial collateral ligament, which is also triangular in shape. So its upper attachment is on to the lateral epicondyle. As the ulnar collateral was attached to medial epicondyle, laterally this lateral collateral or radial collateral ligament is attached to the lateral epicondyle above, and then it blends with the annular ligament binding the head of the radius. So it blends with the annular ligament which binds the head of radius. You can see here. Now coming to the relations of the elbow joint, these relations are very important both anatomically as well as clinically. So whenever there occurs fracture at this joint, the structures which might be affected, the arteries which might be compressed, the nerves which might be injured, crushed. So just have a look at the structures which are related to the elbow joint. So elbow joint, as you know, it is at the lower end of the arm, and it is the junction between the upper end of forearm. So the structures which are coming in relation to the elbow joint, if I see the anterior relations, the muscles which are attached to the anterior compartment of arm, they will be crossing this joint and will be attaching either to the radius or to the ulna, and these are actually the muscles which will be causing flexion at the, or which will be bringing about the flexion at the elbow joint. So what are the muscles which are attached to the anterior compartment of arm? Biceps, biceps brachii, then the most prominent flexure or the main flexure of the elbow joint, that is the brachialis muscle. It will also come in the anterior relation of the elbow joint. Then you can make out the nerves lying medial of the elbow joint. Those are the ulnar nerve, median nerve, and laterally there will be the radial nerve. And of course, the medial epicondyle of humerus and the lateral epicondyle of humerus, they are out of the joint cavity, but the muscles which are attached to these epicondyles will be coming in relation to this joint. So onto the medial epicondyle there is common flexure origin, and then the brachial artery also is crossing this joint. Brachial artery is the only artery which is coming from the arm passing to the forearm. So this artery, of course, it will be dividing into radial and ulnar arteries, and it will be coming in anterior relations of the elbow joint, and this artery can be injured in the fractures of elbow joint. Then the posterior relations of the elbow joint, you have guessed it nicely, they are the extensors of the arm, the extensors at the elbow joint attached to the arm, and then the enconeus muscle. So main extensor at the elbow joint is the triceps, and the enconeus, they are coming in the posterior relation. Then which structures will be medial and which will be lateral? So common flexure origin from the medial epicondyle, the flexure muscles of the forearm, they will be coming in the medial relation. The flexor carpi ulnaris, of course, it will be medial, and the ulnar nerve, do not forget the ulnar nerve, it lies in direct contact just behind the medial epicondyle of humerus, and it is more prone for injury at this position. So remember the ulnar nerve behind the medial epicondyle of humerus. Then coming to the lateral relations. So in the lateral relations, what will be coming? The lateral epicondyle of humerus, and of course the radial nerve and its branches, the supinator, extensors including extensor carpi radialis brevis. So common extensor origin will be coming in lateral relations of the elbow joint. Now three nerves are related to the elbow joint, and these nerves can be affected either in fractures or due to overuse injury of the elbow joint, these nerves might be irritated in like in tennis players, in golf players. These nerves might be irritated because of the repeated action. So these nerves are the ulnar nerve behind the medial epicondyle, median nerve, and the radial nerve. So all three nerves of the upper limb, they are coming in relation to the elbow joint, which you have to remember. Then coming to the bursa related to the elbow joints. Now what is a bursa? So bursa, as you know, it is a fluid filled sac which reduces friction between two surfaces. So here the olecranon process, in relation to the olecranon process, there are 2 or 3 bursa. The major bursa are, one is the subcutaneous olecranon bursa. Olecranon process is nothing, it is this tip of the elbow. So it might be injured when you keep your elbow in contact with the ground or anywhere. So a bursa is there to reduce friction. It is lying just beneath the skin. This is the subcutaneous olecranon bursa. Along with that, a bursa is there between the tendon of triceps and the capsule of this elbow joint, and then one bursa is also there in relation to the radial tuberosity and the biceps tendon. So remember this olecranon bursa subcutaneously and in relation to the tendon of triceps and biceps. Now, when we are knowing the structure of the elbow joint, its major relations, we have to think about the arterial supply of the joint. Every joint, as you know, there exists an anastomosis around every synovial joint, because a single artery, if it passes through a joint, it might be compressed or the circulation will not be proper in different positions of the joint. So that is why there is an anastomosis. Can you tell me the name of the arteries which are passing through the joint? You have guessed it nicely. The brachial artery is coming to the joint. It is the continuation of the axillary artery, and then brachial artery divides in the cubital fossa into, or we say at the neck of the radius, into the radial artery and ulnar artery. So basically the branches of the brachial artery, ulnar artery, radial artery, and of course one is a deep branch of the humerus of the brachial artery, that is the profunda brachii artery, that will also be giving the branches to the elbow joint. So multiple branches from these 4 arteries, the brachial, profunda brachii, radial, ulnar, and a common interosseous artery, they will be coming and anastomosing around the elbow joint to provide blood supply to this joint. So what are the names of those branches? The superior and inferior ulnar collateral branches of brachial artery, the radial and middle collateral branches of profunda brachii artery, the anterior and posterior recurrent branches of ulnar artery, radial recurrent branch of radial artery, interosseous recurrent branch from the common interosseous artery. Now what do you understand by this term recurrent? Actually, when an artery which is passing distally and it is giving an proximal branch, then that branch is called as recurrent branch. So can you see the ulnar artery, the common interosseous artery, they are lying distal to the elbow joint, and then they are giving the recurrent branches which are going proximally, and then they are anastomosing with the branches which are coming from the brachial artery and the profunda brachii artery. So there occurs an anastomosis, and we will be studying, don't worry, don't get we are not burdening you with this. We will be studying this anastomosis in the class of blood supply, when we will be reading it along with the blood supply of whole of the upper limb. Now coming to the nerve supply. नर्व्स को हमने पहले भी देख लिया है, रेडियल नर्व है, अल्नार नर्व है, मीडियन नर्व है, बट द नर्व्स which are giving branches to the elbow joint are musculocutaneous, radial and ulnar. So these will be directly supplying the elbow joint. Musculocutaneous, as you know, this is the nerve of the arm which supplies biceps brachii, brachialis and coracobrachialis. So it will be supplying the elbow joint along with the radial nerve and the ulnar nerve. Then we have discussed the movements, but how a bone can move without the contraction of muscles. So we have seen two movements which can take place at the elbow joint. They are the flexion movements and the extension movements. The flexors, the main flexors of the elbow joint are, or we would say the main flexor is the brachialis, and the muscle which causes flexion and supination is biceps brachii. Then in mid-prone position also, flexion can take place in mid-prone position also. Brachioradialis will be causing flexion in mid-prone position. Any muscle which crosses a joint anteriorly causes flexion of that joint. Brachialis, as you can make out from its attachment, it is straight muscle, so it is a strong muscle which can cause flexion in any position. Then biceps brachii causes flexion in supinated position along with its tendon to the ulna, and then this brachioradialis causes flexion in mid-prone position. Then extension at the elbow joint, it will be by the gravity, and the muscles which are assisting in extension, they are triceps and inguinal. Now elbow joint, in elbow joint there is a carrying angle. Have you ever noticed our arm and forearm, they are not in a straight line. An angle exists between the long axis of the arm and long axis of forearm. So this angle, when it is measured laterally, this angle is known as carrying angle, and it is around 163 degree. It is slightly more in females because they are having a wider pelvis, and slightly less in males. So what happens if this carrying angle is disturbed? The clinical conditions are known as cubitus varus and cubitus valgus. So cubitus varus is this A position where this angle, where the forearm has deviated medially, and cubitus valgus is this B position where the forearm has deviated laterally. So cubitus varus and cubitus valgus, because of the difference in the carrying angle. Now dislocation of the elbow joint can also occur. Can you tell me which is the most common joint in the body to dislocate? Yes, it is the shoulder joint, but yes, the elbow joint can also dislocate. Any joint can dislocate depending on the factors which are providing stability and according to the movements which are possible at that joint. So more common dislocation which occurs at elbow joint is the posterior dislocation, and it is associated with the fractures of the olecranon process. So if there occurs a fracture in the olecranon process, the posterior dislocation can occur, and it is more common than the anterior dislocation of the elbow joint. Then what else can occur in the fracture of the elbow joint? What else can occur? There is a condition known as Walkman's ischemic contracture. As we have seen, you can see in the picture, the arm, it can, you can see that the wrist is flexed, then the elbow is flexed, and then there is extension at the metacarpophalangeal joint. Actually claw hand position is there. So this Walkman's ischemic contracture is also, it can be a complication of the fracture of the elbow joint in the conditions where the blood supply to the forearm from the humeral artery is compromised. So there the edema can occur in the forearm, and it can lead to overcontracture of the flexures of the forearm. Then you can see it can compress both ulnar nerve and the median nerve, or any of these nerve. If complete claw hand is there, both the ulnar and median nerves are affected, and if only partial claw hand can be there depending on the nerves which is compressed. Then other thing which is related to the clinical anatomy of the elbow joint is the tennis elbow, or the medial that is the lateral epicondylitis of the epicondylitis can occur. You know that there is attachment of extensor muscles onto the lateral epicondyle of humerus. So if at the lateral epicondyle there is inflammation or anything, pain can occur along the lateral border of the arm, tenderness can be there along these muscles. These lateral epicondyle provides attachment to the extensor muscles, so along the back of the arm this pain and tenderness will be going. Then golfer's elbow, which commonly occurs in the players, in the golf players, because they are repetitively using their elbow while playing. So due to overuse, the ulnar nerve, which is running behind the medial epicondyle, and of course the flexor muscles which are attached to the this medial epicondyle, they are like teared off when sudden pronation occurs. So golfer's elbow can be there. Now coming to the 3-point bony relationship when we are considering a case of fracture of the humerus. So what are those 3 points जो हमने सबसे पहले एक एक्सरे देखा था जिसमें मैंने कहा कि 3-point बोनी रिलेशनशिप डिस्टर्ब नहीं हुआ है. वो 3 points कौन से हैं जब हम एल्बो फ्रैक्चर की बात कर रहे हैं? Those 3 points are the lateral epicondyle of humerus, the medial epicondyle of humerus, and the tip of the olecranon process. You can see when the elbow is flexed, these 3 points are making an isosceles triangle, and when the elbow is extended, these 3 points, the lateral epicondyle, the medial epicondyle, and the tip of the olecranon process, they are in a straight line. This is the normal position. They are in isoscale, they form an isosceles triangle in flexion, and they are in straight line in extension. But what happens when there occurs fracture and we have to analyze that fracture? If there is supracondylar fracture of the humerus, when the condyles are not disturbed, this 3-point bony relationship will be maintained as it is. So we can analyze this by seeing these 3 points in the X-ray, and these 3-point bony relationship can be disturbed in elbow dislocation. You can see the tip of the olecranon process, it is not lying on the line, it has slightly dislocated. So this is the 3-point bony relationship which you have to make out, and you have to judge when you are looking at the X-ray. The same X-ray which we have seen in the first slide, you can see the 3-point bony relationship, it will be maintained in the they are forming the isosceles triangle when there is flexion. So in supracondylar fractures of the humerus, this 3-point bony relationship will be maintained. So what are the key points which you learned in this lecture? Will anybody summarize these points for me? Yes, elbow joint is a hinge variety, is of the hinge variety. Main arterial supply or main artery which is coming to the elbow joint is the humerus, which should be saved or which should not be damaged in fractures. Then we have to remember the 3-point bony relationship, and of course the attachment of the ligaments and the fibrous capsule, that you have to remember and identify when you will be going to the dissection hall. So assignment for the today's class is, your reflections about this learning session. You have to write the reflections in your logbook of anatomy, and then you will be submitting it to me in 3 days, and I'll be checking those. Thank you.